All right. We are live. Richard Taylor TV on YouTube. We have Robert Krüger from KYNO, Final Cut Pro Radio TV today. And he is making a special effort for everybody. He's staying up late because it's 9 o'clock in Germany where he lives. So welcome, Robert. Glad to have you.
Thanks, Richard. Great to be here.
Let me see. So we already got a comment. Jeremy Herberly, first one here today. If you know any of these people, you can mention that you know them, because I only know some of the people. We have a lot of regulars that come on. So KYNO, you've had a big week, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
KYNO 1.6. How long was that in the making? It seems like quite a while.
Yeah, I think I haven't actually done the math. The only thing that I know off the top of my head is that we originally said after IBC that we were gonna release it, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks after IBC. So that was
September?
quite a bit. Yeah. So I think at least since summer. So it's been quite a while, but it's become quite a monster of a release regarding the new features. So we're super happy that it's out now, and very, very, very happy with the feedback, with the press, with the feedback that we got even before the launch from some of our beta users. We had some of our key accounts use a pre-release version, and it's been an exhausting last 2 weeks with having the release postponed for another 2 days and another 2 days, but now very, very happy with the result.
So 1.5 was the last version. 1.6 came out, and there's a lot of very important, there's one very specific feature that I know people have been requesting that we'll talk about in a few minutes once we get on to 1.6. But so typically, how many updates do you have a year, say, of the point variety, besides bug fixes?
Typically 3, although we want to get to at least 4 a year. And we're already working on 1.7, and this time we swear that it's not going to take as long as 1.6, because we're targeting the time for around NAB, because we already know that there will be at least 2 things that are pretty exciting to announce, and which I cannot talk about at this point.
Okay.
For legal reasons.
Sure. No, absolutely. No, I was going to ask you about NAB. So I remember you being there 2 years ago, but I'm not sure if I met you last year at NAB.
I don't think we met last year. I remember that we met when I was on stage.
Faster Together,
the LumaForge event.
Exactly.
Yeah. Last year we didn't bump into each other, but we were there, and we will be there this year. NAB is absolutely the number one event of our business here.
So where are you going to be this year? What kind of you have your own booth, or you're teaming up with people?
We're definitely teaming up with people, but at the moment we're talking with different partners, and we will announce this,
okay,
I would say, within the next 2 to 3 weeks,
okay,
but cannot today.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I was talking to Luma Fusion, the iPad app people, Luma Touch, and they're going to team up. They said they have a place at NAB. They have a whole bunch of mobile journalists that have gotten together. Keyflow Pro is with them. No, not Keyflow Pro. The iPad movie app that everybody likes is going to be there, and a bunch of mobile people that are involved with mobile. Mobile is becoming really big these days. I mean, it's amazing some of the things that are being shot on mobile phones and everything. So that's an interesting area, especially. I was amazed at the iPad app they had, how much you can do with that. Multicam. They have audio ducking. It just amazes me. They're going to have color correction. They have some basic stuff now, but they're going to go to scopes and everything. So KYNO, one of the common question I get from people, in this particular specific case, Sean Lander from Australia, I don't know if you know Sean or not.
Not yet.
Okay. He asked, because Patrick Southern was talking about KYNO the last couple of days. Patrick put out a video today on LumaForge, his YouTube channel. Yeah. And we were discussing
Thanks, Patrick, for that.
Absolutely.
That was a great video.
Yes. So we were discussing, somebody said, well, Sean said, other people have said, what is the difference? Why should I buy KYNO specifically? I have some very specific reasons why I use it. I keep KYNO open all the time when I got Final Cut Pro open. But for other people that don't know exactly, how would you describe KYNO to a layperson? Not necessarily, a real high-end professional, but like a mid-level or whatever. How would you describe KYNO?
I think that the easiest way to describe it to people who are not really that much into tech is, imagine you have a file browser like Finder or Windows Explorer. I mean, we're cross-platform, that is specialized on media and has integrated a professional player that you usually, as far as the features are concerned, usually only have in stuff like NLEs or After Effects, and have format support that is definitely, I think, one of the best in the industry, and that's definitely one of the points, one of the USPs that's very frequently praised in press reviews and by our real users out there. And you have a transcoder integrated, or conversion engine, and lots of tools regarding metadata management or file browsing. So everything that before you used KYNO, people typically use 3 to 4 different applications to do in their workflow, typically between camera media and NLE or other delivery processes. We put into one user interface that doesn't lose context, doesn't lose metadata, and is very, very easy to use. And what that does in practice for people varies wildly. I think the typical case will be people who take media or browse and preview media, sometimes even already on set in KYNO, sometimes not, sometimes still on the SD cards before they do the offloading, and see if they got everything that they wanted in a shooting break, and then after that use KYNO for copying material, pre-selecting material, clipping, sub-clipping material, if you keep a camera rolling and have lots of stuff that you don't want to go into the edit to not have a totally bloated library. And that's I think for most people that's the typical use case. But we have so many variations. Oh, excuse me.
Sure.
We have some people who use KYNO really as a replacement for classic MAM system, because they just use KYNO's drill down function, which is by far, I think, the most popular function for people who don't know it. It's the drill down function essentially flattens a nested folder structure and shows you all the content underneath a given folder that you activate the drill down on. And you can then refine your search by going down the folder hierarchy. And that way, people can still organize their work in folders, which is still, I think, by far the most popular way for people to work and organize their media out there, with the exception of people who are in a Final Cut 10 workflow only, I would say, but still they have audio stuff. And I mean, almost everyone I know organizes in some way or the other at some point, organizes their media in folders. And we certainly see this in all the production companies or broadcast houses, that the production storage, the shared storage, has growing nested folder structures that grow over months and years, and people simply lose track of where their stuff is. And with KYNO, with the drill down function, it's so easy to find that shot just by either visually scrolling through the drill down data set,
right,
or then applying just 2 or 3 criteria. Like, for example, time is a big one. Most of the time I know the shot I'm looking for was shot in the last week or last 3 days if I'm working in a current project. So just drilling down on your folder structure and say, okay, just show me the last 2 days or the last week. And then I know it was a ProRes shot. Then just show me ProRes. I know it was a 4K shot. Just show me 4K. You typically reduce the material that's in your folder structure that contains, say, 5,000 clips by a factor of, I don't know,
many factors.
100.
Yes.
Or it's really that easy to find your stuff, and to be able to do that in KYNO, you don't have to build a catalog or have a specific import or dedicated import or ingest step. You can do that on all the media that you can access on your file system. You can do that on an SD card. You can do that on your NAS. You can do that on your removable drive. And there's no, I mean, we do build some sort of database. It's technically more like an index, but it doesn't feel like a database. You don't say create database or create catalog. It's just you browse stuff, and the more often you do it, due to caching, everything gets faster and faster, but it just feels like your file system is essentially a MAM. So,
okay. So
yeah.
Now, but on your website, you say one of the questions is KYNO a MAM? And you say kind of a lightweight MAM specifically?
Yeah.
So when I'm used to a full-fledged MAM, when I worked at the National Archives, it kept track of media that's offline, specifically tapes, LTO tapes and things like that. So if KYNO needs the media to be mounted, either in a card or a hard drive or an attached storage, so if I attach a drive in KYNO, let KYNO do the drill down, and I remove the drive, when I come back and reattach it, does KYNO have to start over again on that drive? Or does it have some kind of memory that drive was already attached at one point?
It has some kind of memory.
Oh, it does.
It has all the cached metadata.
Okay.
And I mean, that's depends on the situation, but it in most cases it will retain the index data as well.
Okay.
But just quickly going back to this MAM question, because we get asked that a lot. I mean, there is no universally accepted definition of the term MAM. I mean, it's just in the term that it's very generic. Media asset management can be sorting your clips within a folder as the most simple type of media asset management.
Sure.
And then on the other hand, you can have an enterprise system with a very, very fine-grained permission concept, and as you say, a tape support and hierarchical storage management support and all sorts of things. So we see MAM, the way it's perceived by most people, as the system that you described, like what you've probably seen at the big broadcasters, a typical enterprise system. That's what most people expect in a MAM. I mean, there are smaller MAMs like Keyflow Pro that you mentioned, but typically things like roles and user rights and things like that. And so to not mislead people, we say we don't call ourselves a MAM. We don't market in MAM space, but what we can tell you after being 2.5 years on the market and having thousands of people in 55 countries using it and giving us feedback, that lots of people tell us, okay, that's what we used to do in our MAM, but now KYNO does the job better for us.
Right.
Although it's not a MAM, but the functionality that we used to use in our specific MAM
is there.
Is there, yeah, with the drill down and the filtering, and it's much easier for them, as Patrick said today on his new video. It's much easier to install. It's very backup and administration friendly because it's the the architecture is, as far as the infrastructure requirements are concerned, is dead simple. And that's really the beauty of it.
No, absolutely. Now, so the interesting thing when I was talking to Patrick about this yesterday, before he did release this video, KeyFlow Pro calls itself a MAM. So KYNO doesn't specifically, but then Patrick was saying, well, when we have a jellyfish, the jellyfish is always online. So therefore, KYNO is just like you said. It's like a MAM because it's always attached, right?
Yeah.
So one of the other things, one of the new things that came in 1.6 is, tell me, the big ticket feature item that people have been requesting forever.
Yeah, that's the checksum verify copy,
exactly,
aka offloading. That's a step that's been missing in KYNO and such an obvious gap in the tool chain, and it's one of those features that we would have liked to get in earlier, but there was always this one or those two features where we had strategic interests and said, oh, this has to come first.
Sure.
But no, that's a big thing for us. So people can now have a visual preview in KYNO when they browse their SD cards on set, which they can't have in some of the dedicated offloading tools.
Well, let's wait a second. You're talking about Hedge.
I'm not saying.
Okay, I'll say it.
Names.
I'll say it. It's just that when I bought Hedge, and I didn't realize that you couldn't preview your footage. So it's just it's like a one-purpose thing. So KYNO has added that, which MAMs typically don't have, right? Checksumming?
I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think camera media offloading is typically in MAM space.
Right.
And
exactly.
And I mean, just to give a bit of history, a bit of background information on the history of KYNO. KYNO wasn't conceived as a MAM, but rather as a tool that solves the problems of the filmmaking workflow. Back then, the independent filmmakers workflow. And it was just grabbing all the things and putting them together in this interface that we felt were missing when going through the workflow and say, oh, why can't I just export this portion of this clip in 3 clicks and that in a batch operation without, I mean, what do people do who want to achieve that? And what we found was that people went into the NLE, imported all the stuff, and then set in and out points, and then made those makeshift editing projects just to export subclips. And that was crazy. And we wanted to take all those things and put it into one tool that just supports filmmakers from camera to edit. And then this checksum verify copy was really an obvious thing that fit into that tool set, which only didn't make it into KYNO 1.0 because of lack of time, really. We had it planned out, and then we were totally. It was the first product we put out on the market, and the workload that doing marketing and sales and product development and business development the workload that this incurs was something that we underestimated, and so this offloading thing got pushed from 1.1 to 1.2, 1.3. So, but it's definitely something that fits well into this filmmaker's tool set metaphor, and we don't care whether it fits well into the MAM thing, because this MAM discussion, is it a MAM, is it not a MAM, is something that came from the outside. People ask it, is it a MAM?
Right.
And we say, we don't care. Does it do the job that you want it to do for you?
Right.
And that's really the important question for us.
Well, I think people want to know when they say it's I guess they're familiar with some of the features of a MAM.
Yeah.
But they're not, like you said, it's not a one specific thing. It's not like it's an NLE. NLEs are nonlinear editors, so we have the major ones. They have a tool set that's pretty common. MAM is much more nebulous, especially around the edges.
Yeah.
So, but how would do you have a one or two word description of what KYNO is? Has somebody asked you what it is? Besides describing individual pieces, what would you call it?
I would say the integrated filmmakers or content producers toolset between camera and edit. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really, I mean, it really is a tool set, because, I mean, you're familiar with it. You know all those little gems, like, I mean, you mentioned the batch, the batch still frame export function, which is one of my favorites.
Absolutely. So let's just stop there for 1 second. So typically, if I want to grab some stills, because I shoot in 4K, I shoot 4K 10-bit. By the way, KYNO plays 10-bit files, and High Sierra does not, natively.
Okay, yeah.
I can't play them in the Finder in High Sierra. They won't play. So KYNO plays my 10-bit files so I can preview them. So typically if I'm doing an article or something and I want to grab some stills from my 4K footage, which are nice, nice quality, what do? I have to pull the whole clip into Final Cut. I can't export from Final Cut until the entire clip is imported. It'll say you can't share until the clip is imported. KYNO does not have to import anything. It reads it right from the card. I can sit there and go through the clip, and I can just click the marker button, marker, and with the single drop-down menu, I can export markers as stills. Batch export.
Yeah, for your entire rush.
Yes.
And that's the big thing. I mean, you go through your stuff as you do all the time, and they say, oh, well, that's a nice angle, or that's the perfect second, that's the perfect facial expression, and you just hit, as you said, the M key, and then you export this. And to me, one of the biggest things, I mean, that's a great thing just to start, but the biggest thing for me is really that you can repeat this. I mean, the markers just remain there. And the next time you want to export this as an image gallery for, I don't know, Facebook, and you want to export the whole thing, 70 still frames from today's shoot, or 100 still frames. You're so quick with a logging process, and you just repeat the process. You can change the format. Say, okay, no, I'm just going to use a low-res JPEG for the medium that I'm going to publish this in, and you can select a separate with a naming engine. You select a new naming convention, and there it is. There you have your full new image gallery with another 3 clicks, more or less. So, yeah. So that's what I mean by tool set. So because
you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. This has more. This is much more. Has more features than just what a MAM does. It's like multiple tools that people need that are integrated together. The marker exporting stills from markers is fantastic. I use it all the time. But like I said, I can't preview. I organize my footage in the Finder before I import it into Final Cut, almost always. I rename clips, I organize them in folders, and sometimes, usually not too many subfolders, but I do organize them in folders, and I rename the clips so there's something meaningful in the Finder. So if I go to search for it in the future, I have I don't have to open up the specific Final Cut Pro library. I can just search in the Finder at Finder level and find these things. And so when I organize clips like that, a lot of times when I use KYNO, I will just highlight the clips and just drag them into a folder. Right from your screen into a folder. Is there any downside to doing that? I realize that's not checksummed, probably, right?
Yeah, you're correct. But we're thinking about adding the checksum capability to all the copy operations.
Okay.
Because we think it makes sense. We've received requests for it, and we've seen broadcasters use similar tools, not specialized in media copy processes, but it would just make sense to have this at least as an option. I mean, you do pay a price for checksum verification in terms of speed. So
let's talk about that. I was going to ask you as my next question. So not typically, all the time when there's checksumming involved, it slows things down because of the process involved. So
correct.
No difference in KYNO. That's just the way it is with checksumming, right?
Correct. Although that can be, it really depends on your concrete setup, what you're copying from, what you're copying to, how fast your CPU is to really determine what will be the bottleneck. Because in many cases, the checksumming doesn't really add an order of magnitude or doesn't really add that much overhead that you would care. So there may be cases where people are going to kill me because I didn't do the research well enough. But I don't know. Let's say you add 10% overhead for checksumming.
Right.
I honestly don't care if offloading my camera card takes 2 minutes or let's say 5 minutes or 5.5 minutes.
Sure.
That's really another thing. I do care if it's 5 or 10 minutes. But that's not the order of magnitude that we're talking about for the checksumming, because the checksumming happens in your CPU in RAM, so it's really fast. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So Jeremy in our chat is just asked one of the questions that I was going to ask. Do you see any benefit, and are you interested in doing a KYNO extension for Final Cut? I'm not sure if there would be anything there that you'd be interested in doing.
Let's just say we've been asked to do this quite a few times, and we would certainly love to do it. How that would look, we really would have to see. I mean, most likely what you would do within Final Cut would be select things based on metadata that you already have in your file system.
Right.
I would suspect that transcoding from a panel within Final Cut would not be the primary use case for that. So I would suspect that you would have some sort of like this drill down browsing and metadata based filtering, that kind of thing in a Final Cut panel while you edit. That would be a nice thing. Browse the media, because I mean, people who have gotten used to using KYNO for organizing their media before they go into the edit, you should see them when you take away KYNO and they have to go through the standard import windows, both in Premiere Pro or in Final Cut. It really feels like a big step back, and I think all this browsing filtering thing will probably be the number one thing that a Final Cut Pro extension would do.
So do you have a specific market? I know you're involved, you like to have, broadcasters and things, but do you have a description of like a market that you're after? Just video editors, people who shoot video? Is it as broad as that, or is it more specific?
It's really even much broader than that. Okay. I would say, but we do have a certain focus, and we know after 2.5 years who our usual customers are. So I would say the big majority is really what you describe. Content producers ranging from independent run and gun shooters to small, medium-sized production companies, and at the end, big broadcasters. One of the things that really suck is that some of the coolest names, we don't have the permission to mention, and I would love to mention some names, but some of those big corporations are really, really strict.
Sure.
About how their names are used. So, but generally, they even if you're in a big network, people run into the same problems.
Sure.
That's what we saw. They are content producers, and with production methods really converging in those past, I would say, 10 years, where now the broadcasters learn filmmaking from YouTubers because they have more and more pressure to reduce their budgets. And then they see those amazing videos by a kid using a $600 GH2, a hack GH2 a few years ago, and it looks like cinema. So they all changed their workflows, and essentially that makes the entire production market, as far as we see it, converge quite a bit, because if we look at the big broadcasters that use KYNO, the process or their workflows look really similar to the workflows of the small to medium production companies. So that would really be the core market, people who have that kind of workflow.
Right.
Regardless of if it's this one person army kind of company, or if it's one of the big broadcast networks. But we do have a lot of creative agencies.
Sure.
Who are not necessarily filmmakers, and some pretty interesting other people, lots of people working in social media. That would be a fraction, or sometimes sports leagues, people who just organize assets.
Absolutely.
On and then we even have a certain percentage, I would say, all our marketing, that all the marketing right now is media and entertainment.
Right.
But still we have, I would say, between 5 to 10% of people who discover us through that and use us in totally different industries. We have hospitals, we have research institutions, we have real estate companies. Because everyone has to deal with digital media in one way or the other.
Oh, absolutely. So two questions came in. Man Cave Productions asked, how about transcriptions? Is there any future support? I guess, I'm not sure if he means burned in or just handling transcriptions that if they're attached or something. I don't know what he means exactly, but
I would guess that he means like speech to text kind of automatic transcription, like Simon Says and other kind of services.
Yeah.
Because that's something that we hear a lot. We have people who use KYNO for transcription using the marker and the subclip features.
Okay.
And the Excel export, for example, to send transcriptions to translators. But especially now in the age of AI, what we get quite often as a request is to interface with one of those speech to text services, to have KYNO automatically send the audio track to one of those services and then retrieve the automatically generated transcription of the text.
I see.
And
you're looking at it.
We're looking at it intensely.
There you go. That's a great answer. So Jeremiah says, does KYNO support images as well, JPEGs, RAW formats, just for images?
Yes, it does. It should support all the regular camera raw still formats. If you run into any of those, please send us a sample and we'll try to fix it with the next release. So all the major professional and what's the word I'm lacking?
JPEGs.
Yeah, probably. Consumer and professional formats. We do support, and we do support all the relevant audio formats as well.
And you can sort by those. You can sort by just by stills, right?
Yes.
Just by videos, just by audio if you want to. So if you don't want movies in there, just click on the tab at the top.
Absolutely. But to not raise expectations that we cannot meet, KYNO has a video focus. That's definitely the case. The reason why we have image support and audio support in there is that you need them for moving images projects. You need still images for location scouting, for animations, for anything, and audio obviously you need as well. So if you have a system that has your back during the entire process between camera or recording device, could be a Zoom handheld audio recorder, and the edit, then we must support audio and images. But for still images, for example, you cannot expect in KYNO the same kind of support as you would have in Lightroom. So it's not. Right. I wouldn't advise a photographer to use KYNO to manage their photos instead of Lightroom. But what's a neat thing is if you are someone who does moving images production and also in the same shoot make some still images to support the project, or if you're a photographer moving into moving images production into video, then it should support you well, but it's not a specialized photo tool.
And that's I'm glad. I want an app to be focused on video. That's what I want. Most of the apps that I buy, KYNO is one of the, I've said this before, is one of the top 5 non-NLE apps that I have. Besides Final Cut and Logic and maybe Resolve, KYNO is one of the ones that I absolutely recommend and have just to help me with dealing with Final Cut. So you said you edit yourself?
Yes, I wouldn't consider myself a professional editor. I mean, the whole thing really started for me just making the first short movie, and then the second short movie was the first one I submitted to a film festival and saw it on the big screen, and then just I did some projects for myself, but never really reached professional level. But these days I only get to do some marketing videos, so not big projects. So I know my way around in Final Cut, but a professional editor looking over my shoulder would probably get a fit by my clumsy editing.
Yeah, so Jeremiah asks, I know the answer to this, does KYNO work cross-platform? And the answer is yes. Windows and Mac both.
Yeah.
Did you start just Mac only, I think?
Yes, we always, I mean, the whole architecture was built cross-platform because we always planned to have a Windows version, but that honestly, I think looking back, the decision to start with a Mac version was a much more emotional decision rather than based on really, really sound research, because we all love Mac so much, and the operating system, Windows has its place. It's
sure.
It's something. It's an important operating system, definitely.
Of course, yes.
We all felt more comfortable on a Mac, so that was the first version we published.
So you didn't tell us what was coming in 1.7, but you kind of hinted that 1.7 will be out around NAB.
That's what we're aiming for. I mean, I know that we have a history of not meeting our deadlines. So
welcome to software development, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been doing this for way more than 20 years now. So I'm still not getting better at projections for release dates. But no, seriously, we do have some rather serious business interests in not having this drag along for much past NAB.
So one of the things I saw, I think it's new with 1.6, is Frame.io integration. Tell us about that a bit, how that works.
Yeah, well, first of all, the 1.6 version doesn't officially feature the Frame.io integration.
Okay.
We announced that it is technically in there, and we want to have sort of a closed beta and ask people with teams of more than 10 people to contact us if they aren't interested in having the feature activated, so we can guide them through the beta, because we want to get some more hands-on feedback to tweak it a bit before we really put it into 1.7. But the history behind this is really that we've been in touch with the Frame.io guys for, I think, now about 2 years.
Since maybe Faster Together.
Yeah. That could be that around that time, yeah. And we were very impressed with what they built and how they run their business. And we got to know them rather early, and they appreciated KYNO in its place and said it would be a nice thing at some point if we could integrate. And we always said, yeah, give us an API. We're going to integrate really quickly, because the whole team behind KYNO really has an enterprise cloud integration kind of background.
Right.
So we're not really app developers, we weren't app developers before we started KYNO. Before that, we built larger systems for corporations and lots of system integration. And we said, yeah, of course, give us your API, and we're going to integrate within 2 weeks, and everything's going to be great.
Right.
And they said, yeah, but we have some other business priorities at the moment, and the API will come at X.
Right.
And then X came, and they said, well, we're growing so fast, our business decisions, our business focus has shifted, and now it's Y. And then Y came, they said, oh, we're growing even faster. So this has been going on for quite some time. And then at IBC, we together with them, we built more than a prototype. It's really a beta version of the integration that lets you establish a very, very simple dailies contribution workflow in Frame.io. So you have like a 2-step workflow that takes care of transcoding if you want to transcode before you transfer, which makes total sense if you have, for example, ProRes footage and you just want to have dailies for review.
Sure.
In Frame.io, then it totally makes sense to transcode them before the transfer. You can apply LUTs before the transfer, which is great for people shooting in log. You get all the metadata that people have logged and have added in KYNO, translated to Frame.io metadata like markers and descriptions and things like that, and that in a really, really foolproof workflow. So
I also saw that you are looking at supporting RAW video. I mean, the ones that I would be interested in is ProRes RAW and Blackmagic RAW. I'm not going to be going up into the ARRI RAW anytime soon. Mm-hmm. And I'm not interested in the DNG RAW that Blackmagic has now, but the other two I would be interested in specifically.
Yeah, that's both are formats that we're looking at. The ProRes RAW is obviously Apple's decision. because so far I think it's rather restrictive. It's a rather close group.
Yes.
Is there anyone except Atomos and DJI?
That's it.
Is it still?
Well, I think, was there one other camera that announced recently? Was it one other camera? I forget what the other camera, but you're absolutely right. They've, compared to ProRes itself, which is everywhere, even on Premiere, the licensing for it, maybe it'll open up at NAB this year. Who knows?
Yeah, we wouldn't know because Apple is, although we have a really excellent relationship with Apple, they've been very, very supportive of us. I think 6 weeks on the market, they put us on the Final Cut resources page, which was really, really remarkable.
Absolutely.
But they have a very strict policy regarding revealing those plans, and we wouldn't know. The only thing I can say from our end is as soon as Apple enables us to integrate ProRes RAW as we have integrated Red RAW now, we will definitely do it as soon as possible.
What about Blackmagic RAW? Have you heard? Because they have an API available.
Yeah, and that is something I'm not ready to commit to a specific release, but would definitely. I mean, we have the SDK and we have looked at it more thoroughly, and it looks like something that is straightforward to integrate, and let's say it's definitely on our list of things to integrate.
So you're going to be not revealing where, but you're going to be on the NAB show floor somewhere?
Yes, that's the current plan, and we hope to announce this within the next 2 to 3 weeks where we will be.
Okay. So are you going to get a chance to look at anything else, or are you going to be stuck there the entire time at your booth or whatever?
Well, experience shows that we won't have
much
time to really look at other stuff, which is always a shame because it's Thursday afternoon and you think, well, I could have squeezed in 10 more meetings, but I haven't really had the time to look at the toys that really would interest me. But I'm quite certain it's going to be the same this year.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I figured if you're going to have the booth, you're going to have to man it. Well, I'm planning on being there. I will certainly stop by and see what's 1.7 if it's out or whatever. I'll stop by and we have a chat again. I'll be doing some live reporting from there. Nothing specific. I have fun doing this. I'm not selling a product. I'm not selling anything to anybody. I'm just having fun. I enjoy doing it. So, same with the podcast. I do Final Cut Pro Radio because I enjoy doing it. If that stops, then I'll stop. Perhaps stop doing it. But as long as I enjoy it, and if there's any indication, I have a new episode coming out today, and at the beginning I talk about it. I've been doing podcasting for 15 years.
Well, I mean, that's exactly the motivation that you should have for getting up in the morning and doing what you do. So you're a privileged person then.
Well, that's what I've done. And besides normal, brick and mortar work when I had to make a paycheck is one thing, but after that's over, just when I'm a musician. You're a musician too, aren't you?
I wouldn't. I mean, I have composed and I have. I do sing sometimes. I play the guitar, but really, really, really at a really crappy level. So, musician in the sense of that I love music, I love making music, but I never reached the level that I would, consider myself or announce myself as a musician to someone else.
But it's the same way with music for me. I do the music that I love to do. I don't make music. I don't play with things just to pay the bills. I do music that I really have a passion for. So that's the same way with with the podcast and this stuff and going to NAB and I'm more interested in the behind the scenes kind of things rather than just the typical reporting. You know, I like having fun. I like it when two people get together and we have a good time. That's what I really, really enjoy doing. I'm not selling anything. I'm not selling anybody, any product for this. So
I am, but I still like being in a room with
but I see the difference is I'm having you on because I use your product. I'm having you on because I use it and I can recommend it. But myself, I don't sell anything. Yeah. There's no product that I sell. I just do things that I enjoy and that I recommend. I wouldn't do something that I wouldn't recommend anything that I really don't truly believe in or, use myself. That's just not what I do. So that'll be great, though, to see you over at NAB again. And
yeah, absolutely.
So 1.6 just came out, and people can find that at lesspain.software. Right?
That's correct.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember when we did our radio show back a year or so ago, that Les Payne, I always remember that name, Les Payne, right?
Yeah, and it's been very successful. I mean, just judging by the statistics of people's reactions, it's like 90% of the time, wow, great name. And because people really get it. That's, yes. I mean, we thought about, how do you describe, it should describe that it's something that really works and gets all the painful stuff out of the way. And then, one of the guys came up with, less pain then.
And if I recall correctly, KYNO is a dog?
Yes, that's what we found out after we got the name.
Oh, after you got the name, okay.
Yeah, we started, it's really, cinema in German is spelled KINO, KYNO. And then the guy who did the corporate identity and the logo said, well, and he looked at our proposals for the product name. He said they all suck. Why don't you just call it KYNO? It's like kino, like cinema.
Right.
But okay. The Y just looks much better. Look at how you can have this nice logo. And I don't know what it means, but okay, you have this, at least you have the story to tell that it is cinema in Germany. And then we found out later on that it's Greek for dog. And we found this metaphor of this, of having this, your trusted friend, this dog, your companion that helps you along the way in your workflow is sort of also a nice metaphor. That's where the dog thing came from.
That's what it was. I remember there's something, I always associated KYNO with dog because of our podcast that we did that we did a few years ago. So you have a 30-day free trial.
Yeah.
And there's no restrictions on it.
No, not at all. And I think 2 weeks ago, someone came in and said, "Oh, would this work in my workflow? I have to convert my entire archive to blah, blah, blah." And I said, well, we should put some restrictions in there because I think the advice that I gave the guy just solved his problem in just a night running one batch transcoding job. And I don't know if he ever licensed KYNO. So it's full featured. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you ever have any, at the NAB, do you ever offer a special or NAB special for KYNO at all? Have you done that in the past?
No, so far we haven't. I mean, we had a Black Friday special. We had some launch specials. I think for 1.4 we had one. But we should definitely think about it. I think we're so focused on the product that we're sometimes neglecting this kind of thing, and that's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, I think it is. It is if you're willing to do that. Just have NAB special or just a little appreciation for people if they stop by the booth or whatever. That's always a nice little feature. Sometimes it'll push people to buy that are like on the fence.
Mm-hmm.
But I can highly recommend KYNO, and it's not specifically a MAM. It has MAM features, it has ingest features, it has other features, that Final Cut doesn't have, for example. Batch export of stills. Sell that to Apple, please. Sell that one portion. You can keep it, but sell it to Apple so they have it for Final Cut.
No, that would then we would leave. Then we would lose that one edge.
No, that's true.
No, but one thing I definitely wanted to mention before we wrap this up.
Yes.
In 1.6, because it's we received great feedback, but we also believe that this can be a game changer for people having a certain workflow. That's the metadata export, import, or merge function that we added, because we got the request from a lot of production companies and also broadcasters who regularly had the problem that they had several copies of the material, typically on removable drives or in separate networks on different NAS. And then they said, okay, I have this production assistant logging this part of the footage on a removable drive, and then I have the other one logging it here, or the other part of the footage. And how can I join all this metadata in one place? And that's actually something that not many tools I'm aware of actually offer. And now with KYNO 1.6, you have a very, very simple export-import step that the import step will really look familiar to people who have relinked material in Final Cut.
Sure.
And with the different merge options, where you can say, okay, please overwrite if it's older, or merge the metadata if someone has added a marker. Don't touch the description, for example.
Sure.
These things, this is something people should take a look at in 1.6, because it's if you do any kind of team metadata work, take a look at that, because it can really transform your workflow.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you for coming on today, Robert.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Absolutely. I've been using KYNO. I can't remember when I started using it. I think it was before 1.4. When I met you at the Faster Together 2 years ago, I was already using it then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever version that was. I don't even know.
I think you came in pretty early. I think it would be around 1.2 or early 2017.
Right.
If not even late 2016.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's because I was using it prior to NAB of that year. Because that's how we had the radio. You were on the radio show at that point, and all we were talked about it then. But I like I said, I use it all the time. Whenever I have Final Cut open, I have KYNO open. I have one on one screen, one on the other screen. I use it all the time. So it's just for lots of different things. Like you said, it's a tool set. It's not a singular function app. It's a tool set with multiple apps built in or whatever. It has many functions that other things don't, that other MAMs don't have, and it has functions that other ingest software doesn't have. And I was real pleasantly surprised about the checksumming that was introduced in 1.6. That is huge. That is huge. And like I said, a lot of times will just I'll put my card in and just circle the clips and drag them over to a folder. And if checksumming gets integrated to that at some point. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the thing. If I have footage that's so critical that it needs to be checksummed, I will specifically checksum it. A lot of my stuff is just, I go outside and I fly a drone when the sun's setting or something. I just take some clips out and put them on Facebook for the local Facebook group. So I'm not that concerned about checksumming, but if it's an option, that would be fantastic.
It doesn't break your workflow, because you're in KYNO anyway when you go through the clips on the SD card. So it's not like, okay, now I have to switch to this and then switch back to KYNO for the other organization or subclipping. So that's really a huge step, which we would have liked to have in there much earlier.
Right. Well, I know you have 100 people working for you, right?
Yeah, right. We're still working on team size.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's put it this way, yeah.
Absolutely. I've asked about the Final Cut Pro, the Pro Apps team, how big that is. I've gotten a couple different answers at different points. I don't even remember, and then people guessing the rest of the time because we don't know. Yeah. We don't know how big the beta team is. Have no idea and stuff. I hope they show up at NAB. They haven't made any announcement, and it's unusual because the last 2 years they've been there, they've had specifically. I've been there 2 years. The team has presented on Monday nights between 5 and 6:30 2 years in a row. Maybe 3 years, but I wasn't there at that time. But so far this year, there's been no announcement, so don't know what's going on there. Have no idea. However, if you follow Final Cut Pro News, Apple has announced an update to Final Cut Pro for the first half of 2019. They have done that. So NAB's a good time. I mean, to me, some people are saying it'll be WWDC. Well, NAB's much more specific for video production than WWDC. So NAB to me is a time, if they're going to do it at one of those events, I'd say NAB would be the time. But they better book something. I mean,
last year they were the star of the show. I mean, ProRes Raw was story number 1.
Absolutely.
Up here, and story number 2 was like, was there.
Well, maybe the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera might have been a big one.
Yeah, but that was IBC, right?
No, it was NAB. They introduced it at NAB last year. You're talking about the release of it, yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, they introduced it at NAB. I was there, and I'm like, there's so much stuff crammed into this camera. I can't believe they're selling it for $1,300.
Yeah.
And then, but we still don't have, the backlog still isn't filled a year later. So I don't know what the problem is there. I ordered one and then I canceled it because there's too much of a backlog and stuff, and I said, I'll just wait. I got my GH5. I'm completely happy with that.
Yeah.
So what do you shoot with before you go?
Currently still a GH4 and sometimes an A7S.
So,
but I'm really torn between the GH5S and the Blackmagic Cinema Pocket camera. So, I mean, image quality wise, what people tell me about the GH5S, I cannot imagine that I will be missing anything there. And file size to me really is important because I work with a notebook all the time, and being forced to work in ProRes all the time, I'm not quite convinced.
But then
there's the audio and the Blackmagic, the mini XLR. That's a big one. So for the GH5S, I would have to buy this adapter, which is not exactly cheap.
No, it's like $500 or $400. I just buy a recorder instead. Instead of buying just an adapter.
So I want everything in one device. So
wait for the GH6. That's what I'm going to do. No, I agree with you. The Blackmagic Pocket Cinema has some beautiful, beautiful cinematic images that I've seen. But boy, there's a lot of things that are really, really clunky about it. The fact that you don't have a flippable screen.
Yeah, that's a big one.
You have to have it always in front of your face. What is that? It has a little bit of a tilt to it, so you can go down a little bit, but you can't hold it down, you can't hold it up, you can't hold it. And then if you're going to add a screen to it, what?
Yeah.
I want a portable screen. A portable camera.
I've been shooting the Panasonic GH series since the GH1, and the first thing that I really fell in love with was the screen.
Absolutely.
I was especially if you're an independent filmmaker, you don't have a large team, and you don't have the money for a really good field monitor. Then this small thing that you can see. That's where it's. You can see the image without a field monitor and crazy angles and very, very tiny spaces.
Absolutely. And people, I worked in D.C. for quite a while. Sometimes they didn't allow videography. So I just told them, I'm just taking pictures.
Yeah.
And I'm shooting in 4K.
Yeah.
It looks like a still camera, so here you go. I'm just taking pictures. They didn't, you know, a lot of times. So you're absolutely right. It fits in places other cameras absolutely would not fit in. Thank you, Robert. I know you have to go. It's late there. So it's 9? It's 10 something. 10:14.
Yeah,
looks like
10:14. Yeah.
That's too late. That's absolutely too late.
It was worth it.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. So I will hopefully see you at NAB. I'm planning on being there. And I will, whatever you're going to be, I keep track of you on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle? Is it Les Payne?
Yeah, I mean, it's, well, I actually have to check. I think it's just at Les Payne Soft.
At Les Payne Soft, okay.
And I have a personal one, which I haven't prepared. I think it's RM Krüger, but yeah, I can send it to you, and you can put it in the description if you want.
Absolutely. Well, you can post in the YouTube video here, but I'm sure people will be watching this for days, and anytime they want to interview. The thing about it is, everybody puts out tutorials of their software, but getting to talk to the developer in person is a whole different ballgame. Like we are right now.
Yeah.
It really is. Something that I enjoy doing, so that's why I do it. Thank you very much. I will see you at NAB.
Okay, yeah, looking forward to that. So have a great day.
Same to you, Robert.
Bye.
Bye.